Joan Kennedy, who married into a dynasty, dies at 89. Cause of death and final words revealed. The Kennedy family and the American public are mourning the passing of Joan Bennett Kennedy, the former wife of the late Senator Edward Ted Kennedy and a longtime figure of grace, strength, and resilience within America's most famous political dynasty. She passed away peacefully at the age of 89 at her home in Hyannisport, Massachusetts. Family members confirmed the heartbreaking news, revealing that Joan died of complications related to pneumonia, a condition she had been privately battling in recent weeks. Surrounded by her children and close relatives, Joan's passing marks the end of a poignant chapter in the Kennedy family story, one filled with triumph, tragedy, and quiet endurance. A life shaped by grace and adversity. Born Virginia Joan Bennett on September 2, 1935, in Manhattan and raised in Bronxville, New York, Joan Kennedy came of age in an era defined by elegance and expectation. She attended Manhattanville College, where her beauty and intellect made her a standout student. In 1958, she met Edward Ted Kennedy, the youngest brother of future President John F. Kennedy and Senator Robert F. Kennedy. Their whirlwind romance captured the attention of the American public, culminating in a lavish wedding later that year that symbolized the merging of two worlds, one of privilege and one destined for political history. But beneath the glamour of Washington life, Joan's journey was often shadowed by deep personal challenges. As the wife of a rising senator, she was thrust into the unforgiving spotlight of public life, balancing motherhood, duty, and the immense pressures of belonging to a family marked by both greatness and tragedy. Triumph and tragedy era. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, Joan Kennedy became a familiar face at political events and family gatherings, her poise and charm admired by many. Yet behind the scenes, she faced private battles, among them struggles with alcoholism and emotional exhaustion brought on by the relentless demands of public scrutiny and the heavy toll of repeated family tragedies. She endured the assassinations of both John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy, as well as the political and personal fallout from the Chappaquiddick incident in 1969, when her husband Ted drove off a bridge, resulting in the death of Mary Jo Kopnin. The scandal and the immense strain that followed placed a heavy burden on Joan, who had long stood by her husband through adversity. By the 1980s, her marriage to Ted Kennedy had unraveled, leading to divorce in 1982. Yet through it all, Joan retained her dignity. She refocused her life on her children, Cara, Edward Jr., and Patrick Kennedy, and continued to represent the Kennedy legacy with grace and compassion. A private battle, a public heart. In her later years, Joan Kennedy faced numerous health challenges, including the long-term effects of alcoholism. Despite these struggles, she remained deeply loved by her family and continued to receive care from those closest to her. Her son, former Congressman Patrick J. Kennedy, often spoke about his mother's resilience and her commitment to finding peace after a life filled with both extraordinary privilege and painful loss. "My mother was the quiet heart of our family," he once said. "Even when she suffered, she never stopped loving us." Cause of death and final moments. According to a family statement, Joan Kennedy's death was caused by complications from pneumonia, following a brief period of hospitalization. Doctors had been optimistic about her recovery, but her condition worsened suddenly in the final days. Her family shared that Joan passed away surrounded by her children and grandchildren, her favorite music playing softly in the background. A collection of classical piano pieces she loved to perform herself in her younger years. As she neared her final moments, Joan's last words to her children were said to be, "Tell everyone I'm at peace now. I've had a beautiful life." Those words, full of grace and serenity, reflected a woman who had endured so much, yet departed this world with love in her heart. Legacy of grace, music, and motherhood. Outside the public eye, Joan Kennedy was an accomplished pianist and music teacher, having earned a degree in music from Manhattanville College. Her passion for the arts was lifelong. She often used music as a form of healing and expression throughout her turbulent years. Her friends and family remember her not as a political figure, but as a woman of quiet courage and artistic soul. "Joan had a light that never dimmed, no matter how dark things got," said a close family friend. "She found her peace through music and her children." Joan's enduring legacy lies not only in her connection to the Kennedy dynasty, but in the dignity with which she faced adversity and her unwavering love as a mother, grandmother, and advocate for women's health. Pour in. Following the announcement of her passing, tributes flooded in from across the political and social landscape. President Joe Biden, a longtime friend of the Kennedys, shared a statement honoring her life, calling Joan a woman of extraordinary strength and grace who endured the unimaginable with courage. Former Massachusetts Senator John Kerry reflected, "Joan Kennedy represented the quiet endurance that defined the best of America's families. She lived with elegance, compassion, and unshakable dignity." Her surviving son, Patrick Kennedy, shared a moving message. "My mother was more than a Kennedy. She was a survivor. Her heart was kind, her soul was artistic, and her love was unconditional. I will miss her every day." Continuing her legacy. In her memory, the Kennedy family has announced plans to establish the Joan Bennett Kennedy Foundation for the Arts and Mental Health, an initiative dedicated to providing music education and emotional wellness programs for young people struggling with trauma and addiction. Her family said, "Through this foundation, we hope to honor her lifelong love of music and her courage in facing her own challenges." Joan believed in the healing power of art, and now her spirit will continue to inspire others. A life remembered. Joan Kennedy's passing at 89 marks not only the end of an era, but also the celebration of a remarkable woman who lived a life of beauty, heartbreak, and resilience. From the glittering days of Camelot to her quiet final years by the sea, she remained a symbol of strength amid sorrow, a woman who stood beside history yet never lost her humanity. Her final words, "Tell everyone I'm at peace now. I've had a beautiful life," serve as a fitting reflection of her journey. A journey of grace, endurance, and love that will forever remain a cherished part of the Kennedy legacy.